Hello everybody. Today I'm going to go ahead and install Kali Linux 2.0 Sana in VirtualBox within Windows 10 on VirtualBox 504, something like that. Doesn't really matter. Let me just, well, actually, let's go into the help menu about, yep, so it's 504, I was right. Anyway, I know that a lot of people on Udemy have had problems with this, and for some strange reason, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I can think of two reasons why the installation, well, actually, I can think of several reasons why the installation of Kali Linux would not work, and we will go through some of them today, through as many as we can, that is. The first thing to consider is the age of your computer. How old is your computer? Uh, on most of the computers today, on most of the systems, you will have virtualization enabled by default. But in case you are the small percentage of people who have a computer where virtualization is not enabled by default, I do believe that you will still be able to install a 32-bit operating system. But in that case, just go into BIOS. How you go into BIOS, well, that's different from one motherboard to the next, depending on which one you're using. But all you need to do is reboot your machine and then press one of the keys, F2, F10, or Del, and you will enter the setup, you will enter the BIOS, and there you will be able to enable virtualization. Don't worry about it. It's not like you're entering somewhere where you have 10 billion options in BIOS. And usually in BIOS you have very few options. So feel free to go through all of them. You can go through all of them in like 15 minutes on most systems and find the option that has something to do with virtualization, enable it, and you should be good to go. Another problem that I can think of is that you're using Windows 10 and you're using VirtualBox for something. Update to a newer version, so use VirtualBox 5 something. Always use the latest version on Windows 10 because VirtualBox has been known to have issues with Windows 10. They've fixed most of them. It seems to be working without any problems. I've installed it without any problems, and I didn't have any problems with it. But just in case that's the problem, install a newer version. Also, during the creation of a virtual machine, make sure to follow through the procedure that I have laid out on Udemy. It's fairly simple, but here I will go through it once again on Windows 10 and on VirtualBox 504 so that you can see what you need to do. The things are pretty much exactly the same, but we're going to pay some extra attention to details. Anyway, the first thing that you need to do is go off to the Kali Linux website. So let's go ahead and open up our browser and type in Kali Linux. Open up the Kali Linux website. Make sure that it's HTTPS right here in the upper corner. After that is done, just go ahead and click on the downloads section. And here you will have an offer for 64-bit or for 32-bit. On this particular machine, I have not enabled anything in BIOS. I do believe that I have only 32-bit options, but this is not my machine. This is not my computer. So I'm just going to go ahead and download a 32-bit version. Keep in mind that by using a 32-bit version, you're not really... It's not like you're going to get deprived of content in the course. It's not like you won't be able to do every single thing in the course. The content is exactly the same, course-wise anyway, and you won't be deprived. If you don't feel like messing around with BIOS, just download the 32-bit version. It's not like something is going to be that much different. Like 99.99% of the course for you on Udemy will be exactly the same, so you don't have to worry about that. Anyway, and plus on top of that, when you install packages in Kali Linux via the apt-get method, the system will make the automatic selections for you, and it will automatically download the 32-bit programs, so you don't have to like worry about that. Anyway, let's just go ahead and download one. If you have a slow internet connection, I would definitely recommend the torrent download option. In general, I would recommend the torrent download option, but for the purposes of this tutorial, I have like 80 megabits, so I'm just going to go ahead and go with the direct download, because if you're using a direct download and if you're just downloading the ISO with your browser, the image might get corrupt or something like that might happen, and then the installation, when you start to install, I mean, you're not going to notice it until you start installing it, and when you start installing it, well, you have a problem. So just use the torrent download, and well, you know what, let's just go ahead and use the torrent download now. Shouldn't be a big deal. So if you have one of the clients installed, I have a BitTorrent. You can use any other you want. Just open it up with it, that one. Click on OK. Go into download section here. Allow access. So Kali Linux i386, that's the 32-bit version. If you download the other one, that's the 64-bit version. So let's go ahead and say download now. I don't know what he has been downloading here. I don't really care. And the download process shouldn't take too long of a time. We'll just see when it gives me the timing. Shall I pause the video or continue afterwards? 7 hours is certainly a long period of time, but keep in mind it's just starting. Okay, so whoa, 3,000 kilobytes. Nice. But still not fast enough. You need to go faster. 6. No. Go to 10K, please. No, it's stuck at. Oh, wait, 7. Okay, so it's gonna get. Okay, 9. Yes, go. No. Okay, so it's gonna be in between 7 and 9. It shouldn't take too long. It says here 7 minutes, but the time is subjective. Oh, nice. We're going up to 10. This should reduce the time significantly. Even though I have like 80 megabits here, sometimes I still feel that the connection is not fast enough. Should be, I don't know. In any case, the Kali Linux 2.0 installation is almost the same as the previous version of Kali Linux. They didn't change the installation procedure that much, and it's really simplified, so you don't need to do any crazy shenanigans or anything like that during the installation process. It's pretty much just select what you need, click on OK, and move on. So they made it really simple. Personally, I prefer the CentOS installation where you get to choose more things, but it doesn't really matter because you're performing the basic procedures when installing, and then afterwards you can customize your system any way you like. You can do whatever you want, whatever comes to your mind. Feel free to alter your system in pretty much any way you want. I do like the desktop layout in the new Kali Sana. That's nice. So you don't have to like click on stuff. You have it there on your desktop. You have the shortcuts as that toolbar on the left side, which we will see shortly, does help out a great deal. As I said, one of the main reasons why I'm downloading it from the torrents is because a lot of people on Udemy have had problems with corrupt images. I don't know, maybe you have a slower internet connection or something like that, and then on that slower internet connection, it breaks, it fragments, something happens along the way, and the image gets corrupt. And when the image gets corrupt, you are, as I said before, you do not notice it until you start installing it, and then you see everything in the tutorial. It's exactly the same as what you are doing, but regardless, it doesn't want to work. It doesn't want to work because the image is corrupt and it cannot work. It's missing things, or things are not properly written, or something like that. And that is one of the main reasons why I'm using the torrent download, because if the connection breaks or something like that happens, the chances of having a broken image, or corrupt image, sorry, are much lower than by doing it via browser, especially for slower connections. And plus, you will be able to download from multiple sources, from multiple seeds. So that should be very nice as well. It should boost your speed, perhaps, depending on how fast your internet, how much bandwidth do you have available. And you will be helping out other people by simply acting as a seeder. along the way. You have seeders and leechers, those who provide it and those who download it, but usually the leechers are also the seeders. As the content that you download, you also are enabling somebody else to download it from you while the torrent is active, which is a very, very, very nice way of sharing things. Okay, so we have about 2 minutes to go, and this is extremely frustrating. I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video here, and we will continue when in the same tutorial when the download is done. Okay, so the download is finished. I have the file here. Just gonna go ahead and say stop, and then I'm gonna go ahead and double click. Oh, sorry, no, that's not the way it works here. Just right click on it and go to Open Directory. I have Kali Linux i386.iso in C downloads, and the ISO image is there. Okay, no big deal. Let's go ahead and minimize all these things or close them, whatever you like, and bring VirtualBox to the forefront. Then go ahead and click on New. Type in the name of your machine. It can be whatever you want. I'm gonna type in Kali Sana. Type Linux, obviously, and down below, let's see if I have not Kali Linux, but Debian. There we go. So Debian 32-bit. Now you might notice that I have 32-bit options only here. This is because I have not configured the BIOS, as this is not my machine in the first place. I don't really want to mess with it. Maybe he wants it disabled for some reason, whatever. It doesn't really matter. As I said, using a 32-bit option doesn't matter. It won't hinder you in the course, and it won't be like, oh, you're using a 32-bit option, so you can't do this at all. No, 32-bit is perfectly fine. You get a bit of a performance boost. You get a performance boost with 64-bit, but we're not really doing any extremely resource demanding tasks in this virtual machine, so you should still be fine. Just go ahead and click on next. If you would still like to use the 64-bit version, do the configuration that I have suggested previously, a moment ago actually. This is the important part, and I'm gonna give it 1 gigabyte, well, over 1 gigabyte of RAM. So that would be what I would recommend, but you can certainly give it 800 megabytes, and it should work with 800 megabytes. Actually, less than 800 megabytes. It should work on 756. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a gigabyte. Well, the recommended memory, it says here, is 768. It's gonna work with that, and it's most likely going to work with less than that. But I'm gonna give it a gigabyte and 280 megabytes. Go ahead and click on next. Create a virtual hard disk now. Create. Just click on next here. We want the VDI dynamically allocated. Yes, please. And look, I've noticed that a lot of people made errors here. They basically specify that they want 8 gigabytes. Well, this is not going to work with 8 gigabytes, or at least I don't think it will. I haven't tried it out myself, but I never really do give such a low amount of disk space to a virtual machine. The installation might pass. I'm not sure about that, but it's not really going to be usable. I mean, such low disk space is not something you want to consider. At least what I like to do is go up to 30 gigabytes, 32 gigabytes. I could actually type in 30 gigabytes, but doesn't really matter. I'm lazy. I'm going to leave it at 32 gigabytes because I have plenty of disk space to spare here. If you don't, I wouldn't recommend going below at least 20. You can, but I would leave it at that. Go ahead and click on, before you click on create, just take a look at this section one more time, because I've seen people make a lot of mistakes here. They've even tried giving it like 1 gigabyte or something like that. That is definitely not going to work. So please be aware that you need to give it a certain amount of space on your drive in order to make the virtual machine functional. Go ahead and click on create, and there we go. So now right click on the machine, go into settings, go into storage, and where it says controller IDE and where it says empty, click on that, click on the blue disk in the right corner, choose a virtual optical disk file, click on that, go into the place where you've downloaded your Kali Linux, so it's most likely in the downloads folder, and here it is. I'm just gonna go ahead and select it and click on open and click on OK, and then double click on Kali Sana to start the machine and to start the installation procedure. It's gonna take a bit of time to boot, no big deal. And it says live, install. So we're just gonna go ahead and select install. Unable to boot, please use kernel appropriate to your CPU. The kernel requires the following features not present by, okay, so no big deal. Save machine state, no, just power it off, please. Right click and go into settings. I believe that this is helpful, that I encounter errors along the way and solve them along the way, because well, it does help everybody out in general, because if you encounter the same problems, you can just look at what I did and fix it straight away. No need to actually go and ask a question and search on the net, but rather instead you can see it straight away. And the way to fix this is to go into settings and then system and then enable Pi. Click on OK. So one more time, just right click, settings, system, processor, enable Pi. That's it, PAE. You can also dictate how many CPU cores would you like to assign. Wow, it actually states here that I have 8 CPU, that he has 8 CPU cores in this machine. But okay, just go ahead and click on OK. I'll leave it at 1 core, and you can leave it at 1 core. It's gonna run just fine. Let's go ahead and double click on the machine again. Let's see if it boots, or do I make a complete idiot of myself? Oops, not yet. I'm rushing. Work, please, today. And there we go, it's actually going through. Come on. Some errors failed, okay. Hopefully nothing important, as I'm a bit lazy and don't really want to go through it. And there we go, the installation has actually begun. I have managed to load the system, and that issue has been solved. So if you by any chance encountered this issue, you can see how I solved it. And that's the way I like to do things, live, and then I encounter problems and you can see how I solve them. If you don't encounter them, great, just go over that part, skip it, whatever, and the better for you, the less problems you encounter. Anyway, select your language of choice, and by the way, if the letters are a bit bleak or it's a little bit difficult to read, I can read it, and I'm sitting some distance away from this monitor. I'm really leaning far back in the chair. I can see it, so hopefully you can too, but this has nothing to do with the recording quality or the screen quality or the machine, the physical machine. That's just the way it is at the moment with Kali Linux installation in VirtualBox. So go ahead and select the language you want. I'm going to go ahead and select English, and I'm going to go ahead and select the UK here. And I also want to forward my keyboard. I want British English. I'm not from Britain or anything like that. I just like the key layout. Not the key layout, but the you know, where certain things are on the keyboard. Well, it is a key layout basically. Like not the letters, but these symbols. I like their positions in the British keyboard layout, so I tend to use that one. But really, use whichever one suits you. Completely irrelevant. You will not be hindered in any way. Just choose the one that you feel most comfortable with. So it's loading some components, whatever. Shouldn't take too long. The installation procedure itself, I will most likely create some pauses there and not actually just wade through it all, because that would be tiring for all of you, and quite frankly, it would be very tiring for me as well. And I'm just hoping, I'm really hoping that this recording software will work out. So hostname, select a hostname. Now this is not your username. This is the name of the machine. A lot of people that I've seen on Udemy, what they did was, instead of here where it says hostname, they've typed something in and they've concluded that that is the username. It is not. This is the name of the machine, so the hostname. You can name it whatever you want. I'm gonna name mine. What do I see on my desk? I see a cup of tea. Well, I'm just gonna name it tea. A strange name for a machine, I know, but type in whatever you want here. I don't really care, and neither should I, because that's your personal preference, nothing else. Domain name, we do not require that. Just go ahead and select continue. Root password. Now, also what I've noticed is that a lot of people tend to type in the root password here and then they can't remember it when they need to log in after the installation. This is not good. You need to remember the password here, so I will just type something in, something very simple, something that should never be used as a password, but it doesn't matter. I'll most likely delete this machine the moment I'm done with this, so that I don't take dry space on the machine that is not mine. So just select a password here, and that is the password that you will use. Your username will be root, as in R-O-O-T, lowercase r. And this will be the password for that user, for the root user. So just select continue, hit enter, re-enter the password to verify once again, and select continue, press enter. You need to type in the same password twice so that there are no, in order to avoid confusions. Okay, just waiting for this to finish. You know, have you ever been at that point of time where you wanted to install a system and just wanted to hit enter and for it to be finished in 1 second? Yeah. Okay, so guided, this will be your partitioning scheme. You can select the default options because you only have one disk and this is a virtual machine, so you don't need to worry yourself with a lot of other options that are presented here. Well, with the well, not a lot of other options. You have like three possible options, and you have the fourth one, which is the manual. On my main system, I usually select a manual, and then I do all sorts of shenanigans there. But since this is a virtual machine, just go with guided and don't select the LVM at all, especially not the encrypted LVM, as it's not complex or complicated, but if you forget your keys with encrypted disks, they're basically your information on those disks is gone permanently. LVM stands for Linux Volume Manager. So let's just go ahead and select the option guided use entire disk. This is the only disk that you have. This is the disk for the virtual machine, so select, you can only select it, hit enter, and let the installation begin. Well, okay, not yet. It says all files in one partition, recommended for new users. Just go ahead and select that. Don't separate anything into other partitions. There really isn't a need on a virtual machine at all. It says finish partitioning and write changes to disk. Yes, please, go for it. This is gonna ask you to confirm once again. Do you want to write changes to disk? So switch from no to yes and press enter in order for the installation to begin. And now it's just partitioning. That should be done fairly fast. It doesn't take that much time to actually partition the disks. And here I am going to pause the tutorial, and then I will continue in segments as I am asked various questions by the system, so I can show you what I have selected. And I'm pausing for another reason, because I don't want to drag you through this, just sitting here and looking at the blue screen and listening to me mumble. So let's just pause it, and then we will come back when the system prompts us with a question. Okay, so now we are asked whether we want to use a network mirror or not. So we're connected to the net, obviously. So just go ahead and say enter for yes. Proxy information, no, we do not require proxy information. This is if you're wondering what this is, well, let's say that you are in in an office building or in a school or in a bar, well, not in a bar actually, but in a school or in an office building in general, they will usually set route all connections to go through a single proxy server within that building, and then they will filter the traffic there, and in such a way they will protect their network, and they will be able to say, okay, well, you cannot access these sites or those sites, etc. And if you're wondering why this is, well, imagine in an office building, for example, if you have a lot of people there working, you don't want your employees to spend 3 hours of their workday on Facebook or something like that, so you basically ban that domain through a proxy server. Anyway, just go ahead and hit continue here. No need to select anything else and wait for it now. Okay, now it is asking you to install the grub bootloader, and just go ahead and select it's going to install the bootloader to the master boot record. Yes. Why? Well, no need to select anything in particular here, as you only have one single drive for this virtual machine, and that is the reserved space for this virtual machine, and it's not like you're going to overwrite your existing data on your host operating system. Select a device for the bootloader installation. Well, you only have one, so select that one drive. Press enter, and that's it. So now we wait once again. And it says now that the installation is complete. So just go ahead and press enter. And that's pretty much it. You do not need to do anything else. It's going to finish up the installation without bigger difficulties. Probably going to do some wrapping around at the end, wrap up work, so to say. Once it finishes, we're going to go ahead, install the guest editions, and that will be it. Until then, we're just gonna have to put it on hold so we do not have to endure this line. Okay, so now the Kali is installed and it booted. Nothing special happened, just press enter and you wait basically until you reach this screen. You shouldn't be asked any questions, at least I haven't. I've watched the entire procedure, so nothing special there, just waiting for it to finish, that's all. And then you get this screen. And let's go ahead and close this. Now the next thing that we need to do is install guest editions. Why? Well, because we really want to work on a full screen. We don't want to work on this miniature screen. It's not very nice. So the username, it will be root, and the password will be whatever you typed in during the installation procedure. So just type it in here. Log in, and it's gonna start in a moment. Hopefully today. Please. Okay, so it's the first login after installation, so give it some time. But this is the black screen I'm guessing that you all have been talking about. And, well, you know what? This will be a good time to fix it. Oh, well, actually, no, because it actually booted. So I didn't get the black screen. I am unable to reproduce these conditions that I think one or two people on Udemy have described, but the black screen that I got, I just waited for it basically for maybe, well, for however long I did. You can see it in the video, and I got the installation. So you can see that the mouse is kind of slow in here, and when you click on things, it's slow, very slow, dead slow, which is not something that we really want. So let's press Control Shift plus plus to zoom our terminal. And let's do the following. So first off, apt-get update. Let's wait for that to finish. And waiting for headers, and waiting and waiting. This shouldn't take too long. Should finish fairly fast. We are going to speed up this virtual machine significantly once we installed everything that we need to install. As running it as it is, I don't think that this is particularly useful, and it's nerve-wracking when you have to work with slow machine and very, very, very small screen, especially when you need to open up a lot of tabs. Did this finish? Or no, it did not finish. It's still working. But anyway, as I said, it can be nerve-wracking to work on a machine with a small screen, as this virtual machine has one, and to be working on a very slow machine. And that is what we need to do, basically, to install a few things and then be sure to install the guest editions. That should give us a full screen copy-paste from host to guest and vice versa. And it should increase the speed of our virtual machine, so it will be well, not the speed, but it will be snappier. We won't have to wait for extended periods of time for basically our mouse to move from left to right. Let's put it so. You see there, it moves, and I can see the lag, although not as bad as in the beginning. Have you seriously encountered a bug or something here? Because I do not see you moving. Let's see. Maybe it's just a GUI thing. Move? No. Expand? No. Anything else works? No. Oh well. It seems that our machine has crashed to an extent. Oh well, it didn't crash, it's just painfully slow. And I should have checked for internet connectivity before attempting this. Excellent, so it has finished. Let's see if I can expand this to full screen. Can't really bother with it now. Just go ahead and type in ping google.com. Are we getting a reply? Yes, we are. You probably should have pinged before I started the update process, but oh well. I mean, if the update process doesn't work, obviously just check for internet connectivity with a ping. You can find the network settings for VirtualBox in here. So it says File, Machine, View, Input. Click on Devices, Network, Network Settings. And under network, you can see attached to NAT. So you have two modes which we're going to be using. So either NAT or bridged adapter. Bridge adapter is pretty much the equivalent of this machine being a standalone on the network, your home network, and NAT pretty much means that it will be masquerading or hiding behind your host machine. The traffic of it anyway. We can leave it in NAT for now, but for later portions of the tutorial, not this one, but for the later portions of the course, you will most likely need the bridged adapter. But for now, we can just leave it in NAT, as this is a default installation, so just click on OK. With NAT and with bridged, I have explained that in greater detail, and I've shown what you need to select and how you need to select it, and what adapter should you choose in the course on Udemy. But for the time being, we're just doing the installation of Kali, and we don't really need to mess with that. Okay, so let's clear the screen to make it a bit neater and type in apt-get upgrade. This might take a bit longer, so let's see, how much do we have after this operation? 16 megabytes. Okay, so not that big. But there are 71 packages that will be upgraded, so that's a good number. The other day on my Fedora 22, which is my host operating system on my machine, I had around 208 updates, which is quite a lot. Although they're fairly small, and the update process differs to a large extent from Windows updates. As you know, after the reboot, you don't actually need to do anything special. You don't need to wait for that waiting to apply updates. Something I really grown to hate in Windows, and that's one of the things that I do not like about it. I do not see why after reboot it says waiting to apply updates or something like that. Why can't it just boot through and apply everything while the update process goes on, as in Linux? Like, you just type in you upgrade the system, and afterwards you can just reboot, and it's gonna reboot in a normal fashion, there will be no particular or special delays. But oh well. And after the updates are finished, it's not forcing you to reboot the machine or anything like that. You can do it whenever you like. Probably can do it on Windows like that as well. Although not too sure, haven't really tried that out. Okay, so we're still waiting for this to finish. Extracting templates, done. Reading database. Say it's done. This has the speed of this doesn't really have much to do with the available bandwidth here, as I do have a decent speed. This is purely due to the speed of the virtual machine on my end, so we gotta deal with that. It's not the fastest one. I could probably accelerate it by giving it multiple processor cores and by giving it more RAM, although I think that giving it multiple processor cores will significantly boost it as opposed to giving it more than 1.2 gigs of RAM. But yeah, the most significant thing that we can do here is simply install the packages that we need to install, and that should boost the speed in and of itself, because I have to take into consideration that, some people are not going to have that many cores at their disposal. This particular machine has 8. My machine, my laptop machine where my Fedora is, has 4 cores, and the new machine that I'm going to get is going to have like 16, something like that. So that's going to be very nice for virtualization and stuff like that. Actually, I might do a video on that as well, on how I assembled it and what sort of hardware did I use and for what purpose is each component intended for. But that's a story for another time. Please, will you finish? Okay, let's expand this at least to the point where we can expand it. No. Yes, no. Expand. Yes, there we go. So just unpackaging these things. I'm gonna go ahead and pause the tutorial because I don't feel like mumbling anymore, and then I'll continue when it's done. Okay, well, that has taken a bit longer than I thought it would take, but oh well, no big deal really. Let's just clear up the screen and type in app-get install dkms, and let's see. Yep, there we go. So that's gonna go through, and hopefully this will not take as long as that upgrade took. That was yeah. I have no comment on that matter at all, as it took a tonload of time. Again, keep in mind that this is not due to the internet connection, rather instead due to the wonderful speed of a virtual machine that has not been properly tuned. But don't worry, we're getting to the part where we're getting to that point in time where this will work smoothly. It's just that we have to sit and wait and do and configure and install, and after long last it shall function the way it was meant to function. There are of course other ways of virtualization that actually give you like 95% of native performance, something like that. But that's not really like full virtualization. That's in the realm of para-virtualization with Zen, and those machines are fast. Ugh. But again, that's para-virtualization, not the actual, not what we are doing now. And that way, that's not really suitable for our purpose today. Anyway, we are just creating a safe, enclosed sandbox environment where we can do whatever we want without any fear of messing up our host system or doing anything like that. And this is taking way longer than it should on a physical machine. This just flies. But let's just pause and give it time. Okay, now that has been installed, the DKMs. Now we can go ahead and clear the screen once again. So here what we shall do is type in uname, actually not yet, just type in apt-cache search and type in header space a pipe grep space dash I space Linux. So just wait for it. There we go. And now what we need to type in is uname-r. So we need to install the headers. And let's see which one of these matches the output of uname-r. Well, 400 Kali common header files for Kali 00 header files configuration meta package. Okay, so we can go with the meta package. That should be just fine. This one here, copy. So look, all you need to do is whether you installed a 64-bit, 32-bit, some other version of Kali, or in fact some other distribution of Linux, the procedure is pretty much the same. Just search for the header files and then match them to the output of uname-r. If you cannot find a match, you can use the meta packages, and even if you find a match like I have, you can still use the meta package. So yeah, no big deal. You should be fine. Well, there we go. Should be fine there and should run smoothly without any problems. So apt-get install space, press enter, and wait for it to install. Zero not up is already in the newest version, set to manually installed. Okay, so I seem to already have them, and what I shall do now is perform a reboot of the machine, and then I shall install the VirtualBox guest additions. So to reboot the machine, you can do the same thing as I did. Just type reboot in the terminal, and it's gonna reboot. Simple as that. No sophistication there. Nothing special there. Just go and reboot. Please, sometime today. You know, I live for the day when you will be able to issue a command to the computer and it practically completes it instantaneously. I'm not talking about seconds, milliseconds. I'm talking like less than that. When you click it, so you literally cannot differentiate between instant execution and, I don't know, some very small amount of time. I live for that day. Okay, so we got these errors. It's fine as long as it boots. I noticed that a lot of people have asked me about the open vulnerability assessment. You can install it after you finish the installation of Kali Linux, and then it's not going to fail at boot time, but I mean, it's fine. It's not a pre-requirement of the course, so you don't need to do it. You can if you wish, but it's not a requirement. If at any future point of time it does become, I will definitely show you how to do it. I believe there was a person in the discussion section who copy-pasted basically the command that you can use to install it, so no big deal there. Let's log in one more time, and is it gonna be a black screen, or are we gonna boot into or are we gonna log into our machine? Because technically we already booted into it. We came to the login screen, so preferably sometime today. And that time has not yet arrived, but it looks like it will. Okay, so you can see that the mouse is significantly faster. Let's see about the terminal. Okay, the opening up of the terminal seems to be about the same, but yeah, we can move it a lot faster. The graphics are not as snappy as we want them to be, but let's proceed with the guest additions installation. You can definitely see the difference, or at least I can. When I type in, it's a lot faster. But let's go through a few more things. So go into devices, insert guest additions CD image, and wait. Yup. So run as we do trust it, but this most likely will not work. And there you go. So it won't. Anyway, what you need to do is following. Let's go ahead and expand this to the full screen. Doesn't quite work like that, but it does work like this. And zoom in with Control Shift plus plus. Go into CD media, and let's do an ls here. I think it's CD-ROM 0. CD-ROM 0 ls, and there we go. So we have our VirtualBox guest editions here. Type in // VirtualBox Windows Editions VBox. Come on, no. Okay. I cannot execute anything from here. Okay, fine, no big deal. Just copy it. So CP. And we need the Linux editions.run. And we shall copy this to basically, well, there were recommendations to copy it to the root folder, but I kind of like to copy it to the desktop. Doesn't really matter. You can copy it anywhere on your file system, no big deal. So root desktop, since I am a root user anyway, and let's go to root desktop and do the ls. So we have it there. Let's run it. And now it is running. I am betting that something will fail during the setup of guest editions. I do not believe that I have ran guest editions even once that something didn't fail, but as long as most of the things actually work, as long as you can copy paste from host to guest, and as long as you can have a full screen, you should be fine and set to go. However, if you don't have those two functionalities, it's not a deal breaker, but it's definitely going to be a nerve-wracking experience through the course. So I would definitely suggest getting that to work. Building them, and let's see where it's bound to fail somewhere. I'm betting that it will fail. My money is on a failure. But hey, as I said, as long as you have those two functionalities, I am satisfied. And I don't know about you, but if you want to dig in it a bit further, feel free. And if you want to ask me about it, also feel free. You can do so on Udemy. You don't need to be, as I said before, you don't actually need to buy the course or anything like that. You can just log into Udemy, create an account for free, and you can post any questions you want in the discussion section. And you can also send me a private message, but I would really prefer it in the discussion section, regardless of whether you are enrolled in the course or not. So this is taking a while, and I'm just gonna go ahead and pause the video again, and then we shall continue once this is done. Really sorry for these snappings, but I didn't want to miss anything out, because I've noticed that people have had difficulties, and this way I don't really skip anything. It's a little bit annoying for somebody who already knows how to do this, who has already went through this like 100 times, but hey, I want to satisfy everybody, so I'm really sorry for that. Okay, so there we go. The guest editions have been installed, and surprisingly enough, I don't actually see any failures here. Let's just see. Done. Wow, actually I didn't get any failures, which is very nice. So let's just reboot the machine. No big deal, just reboot again, and the next time we reboot, we should have a full screen that we can expand across our entire monitor, and that should work really well. And using Kali Virtual Machine will not be a nerve-wracking experience that otherwise would be on a very small screen with tiny letters. So we can work properly and have a normal environment. And are you gonna work? Please do. Today. Well, unfortunately, I really don't have the nerves to actually pause the video so many times, as I already did pause it a lot of times. So we're just gonna wait until it actually boots, and this will be the last thing that we shall do with Kali. Hopefully after this, everything will work normally without any problems of any sort or kind. Okay, fine, some failures, no big deal. I can live with that. Boot. Oh man, when I get the new machine, all of this is going to fly. Like literally fly. I actually might, not sure if I said this, I probably did, but I actually might create a video for, yeah, I did for the new machine when I set it up, because when I make a pause here, I don't actually stare at the computer and wait for it to finish. I actually go and do something. Anyway, so I forget. Anyway, let's type in root and log in. In the course, you will be shown how to create a new user so you don't have to log in as root every time. No worries there. And also, if you don't feel like paying for the course, no big deal. You also have the entire course on YouTube, but the difference between the free course content on YouTube, which is pretty much the whole content of the course on Udemy, is the difference in terms of updates. So that one on YouTube just doesn't get updated with new lectures. Anyway, let's try expanding it. Work. Yes, there we go. So it does work. It's spread wide across my screen, and voila, you have it. Here we can fire up a terminal. And I seem to have some problems on my other machine, but okay. Have the other monitor showing me that. Let's go ahead and play around with this one. There we go. So let's zoom in. Yes, there we go. So the machine is fully functional now. This one, the physical machine in the background, is not the fastest one. I can grant you that because I do have some other things running. The graphics are not that good, and I'm also recording the screen, so keep that into consideration. But all things considered, here you go, fully functional virtual machine with relative speed, of course. Anyway, I sincerely hope that this has helped you out, that this has helped out all the people on Udemy who have asked me for this. And if you're not from Udemy, it doesn't really matter. I hope that at least it has been of some use to you. And at the end of this tutorial, let me just once again state that I am not monitoring the YouTube discussions. I will not reply to you here on YouTube. If you have any questions on how you wish to do something in regards to Linux and in general, you can ask me on Udemy. I will gladly help you out in any way that I can, and you don't need to pay for anything. I will help you out either way. You just need to ask me through Udemy. Anyway, I bid you farewell.